2 weeks ago, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem was widely considered one of the top contenders to be Donald Trump's VP pick. But that all changed after the release of excerpts from her new book titled No Going Back. It includes lessons from her time as a governor and a congresswoman, but also stories that have drawn criticism. One about her killing a hunting dog and another about meeting North Korea's dictator. Governor Noem is with us at the table. Good morning to you, Governor.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you here in person. Let's talk first, but we don't want to talk about a lot of the topics that you address in the book. But the book is called No Going Back, but it sounds like the publisher, Center Street, is going back on a couple of the details in the book.
Oh, I don't believe so.
Specifically, when you write in the book, I remember when I met with North Korean dictator Kim Jong Un. I'm sure he underestimated me. That, as I understand, is now being removed from the book at your request.
Yes, when I became aware of that, we changed the content, and the future editions will be adjusted. And, I appreciate that. I've met with many, many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. I should not have put that anecdote in the book. And at my request, they have removed it.
That specific meeting didn't happen?
I'm saying that I'm not talking about that meeting. I'm not talking about my meetings with world leaders.
But you
there's
do
some
talk
that are
about
in the
meetings
book.
with world leaders.
There's some that are in the book, and then there's some that's not in the book. Many
of them,
actually.
Why are there two specific mentions of meeting Kim Jong Un and talking about him, and a specific memory? I'm sure he underestimated me, having no clue about my experience staring down little tyrants. Did you tell your ghostwriter to write that?
I've specifically have worked on policy for over 30 years. And over that time, I have traveled around the world, and I have met with leaders around the world. And that anecdote, I've asked them to change the content, and it will be removed.
It's a simple question. Did you or did you not meet with Kim Jong Un?
That's the answer that I have for you, is that it will be adjusted, and as soon as I became aware of it, that content was removed.
What about this purported call between former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley and you? Her team is saying a phone call was made, but back during 2020, during the pandemic, to offer support to you and the state of South Dakota. However, you describe it as a threatening phone call. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I think that certainly her retelling of the story makes sense, because that's kind of what Nikki Haley does. She says whatever works for her at that moment in time. So we had conversations in 2020, we had conversations in 2021. So that story is absolutely true. I did feel threatened after that phone call very much. It was clear she was the lone wolf and that there wasn't room for another Republican woman in politics.
But, Governor, I am curious, though, about why you felt threatened. Only because she says, I'm calling from one governor to another. I just want to offer my mentorship, she says, that you said she said. I offer my mentorship. I've heard great things about you. And if I hear something bad about you, I'll let you know. I read that, and I didn't think of it as a threat. I actually thought she was reaching out to you. What about it was threatening to you?
Well, words matter. And twice she repeated to me with long pauses that when she heard bad things, that she would make sure that I knew. And she said that, let me be clear, I will make sure that you know when I hear bad things. And there was never another phone call.
But why is that a bad thing? Because I had a friend who was somebody who said, I want to mentor you, and if I hear bad things about you, I'll let you know. I would be appreciative of that.
And they'd be friendly.
Yeah.
And they'd probably call you again, check on you.
So the tone mattered to you?
If you remember during that time, I was during COVID.
Yes.
I was the only state in the entire country
that stayed open
and widely criticized by Republicans and Democrats. I didn't have a friend. There was not people that were calling me and saying, Kristi, you're right. You're making the right decisions for your people. You're following the Constitution. And typically, when I mentor people and I want to be friendly, I check on them. I call them. There was never once an outreach, and we were in many meetings after that where she was not friendly, I was not kind, and her words were not kind. So
you two disagree on the characterization.
Well, and I think that's pretty typical of Nikki Haley, though, is that she's the person who said, I'm never going to run against Donald Trump, and then runs against Donald Trump and says one thing and then does another. It's pretty consistent.
It's kind of called politics, Governor.
It is. Well,
that's what you guys do.
It doesn't have to be. Yeah. And that's why I wrote this book.
All right.
I wrote this book because politics doesn't have to be that way.
Yes.
Politics can be just normal human beings who want to serve each other.
You say, forget about fixing politics, step into the chaos and move the nation forward.
It is chaos.
Which is what you want to do. It's very chaotic.
I think people are scared to run for office in this day and age. I think they're scared to even support people publicly because of the chaos of it, and the desire to really serve can lead to people coming after you and your family and your business and your finances, and then that tends to lead to chaos. So I think that concerns a lot of people in America. This is a how-to guide for the average citizen, for an American, that, you know, here's some history, here's my experience.
You actually say the people have the power.
The people do have the power.
Wait,
here's my history, here's my experience. So we want to speak about one of those experiences. You have received huge backlash from your story about killing your 14-month-old puppy, Cricket, I believe it was, because he was aggressive or
That's a female.
Female. She was aggressive or, untrainable. Do you regret writing about that in your book?
This book is filled with painful, vulnerable stories. You know, and this story people have known for years. My political opponents have tried to use this story against me in previous campaigns. I wanted people to know the truth, and that's why I put that in this book. You know, this was a dog that I was its second chance. It had come to me from a family that had found her to be way too aggressive. I was a dog trainer, raised dogs. And she was killing livestock.
Dogs?
Oh, I love dogs.
You do?
Yeah, I have a dear dog named Foster right now that goes everywhere with me.
But Governor, people would say, why couldn't you just give the dog to someone else? You know, let him be on a farm, or at the very least, if you thought the dog was really aggressive, have them put down in a humane manner. I think, number one, when we hear puppy, it's not a little puppy.
It's an adult working dog. It was an adult working dog. And this is a humane manner. According to the American Veterinarian Society, every state in the country has a law that allows what I did. And the purpose of telling
It's a humane way to shoot the dog?
Yes, the purpose of telling the story was so that people would know I don't pass my responsibilities on to anybody else. It was extremely hard for me, and that's clear when you read the story. That it was a difficult decision for me, but when you have an animal that you, as a mom, you have to decide, do I choose the safety of my children over an aggressive animal that attacks people? You know, I chose as a mom for my children.
It's just so hard, Governor, for people to get past
I understand.
that story. Yeah,
And prior to that
hope
story coming out, you were considered to be a top contender as a VP pick for Donald Trump. Is that still the case, do you think?
You know,
it seems like the
never
GOP
once
has turned on you.
I think that the media has turned on me, and I understand that. I think that that's the part of being honest and being genuine. I think the American people want somebody who's real and doesn't pretend to be something that they're not. I've never once said that I'm perfect. I've never said that I've made every decision perfect, but I'm honest about it. And the reason I told this story is because most politicians, they run from the truth, and they hide from making tough decisions.
You were not running from the truth. You were doubling down. You know, the book is filled with a lot of anecdotes about your life, about your family and your children.
Right.
You're raised in a ranching family where there was no distinction between boy chores and girl chores.
Right.
And so how do you want history to remember you? I know your career is still in process.
Right.
But you talk about history. How do you want to be remembered?
I want history to remember me as someone who tried, who got up every single day and recognized that my purpose for being created was to serve people, and to do good things for them and to help them. And I think it's a part of almost every speech that I give is the reminder to people that they're the ones who can make a difference in someone's life, and that we were created to serve other people. And if we have that mindset, that's really what would fix this country.
That said, you said, I never dreamed of being in politics. To be honest, politics actually sucks, but it is energizing and rewarding.
It is, because every day I get stories of people whose lives we helped. The veteran, we helped them get their health care needs met. You know, the individual who, you know, maybe had a tree branch fall on their house, and we were able to bring, you know, a couple of people from my office over to help them get it off. And that we were maybe able to relieve somebody of a financial burden that was really dealing with something they were struggling with their family. I think that is, and get people trained to fill a job that they've always wanted. You know, that's the one thing about being governors. Governors are CEOs. We get the chance to wake up every day and make a decision that helps people. And that's the mindset that we need to have if we really want to have the right leaders in places that we need them today.
Well, you have a sign at the governor's residence that says, underestimate me, it will be fun.
Yeah. Well, I've spent my whole life getting underestimated.
Governor Noem, thank you. We appreciate you. No Going Back goes on sale tomorrow.